We are back on Morning Line. Thanks for joining us. Our guest, Davidson County Sheriff Darren Hall. If you want to join in the conversation, 737-7587. So often when you talk about incarceration, be it at the state level or local level, at the jail or a prison, it's all about money. It's crazy. I did a story last week that outraged people, and I did the story not so much because it's something unusual, because this we all know happens. There was this horribly tragic wreck where a young couple and their 11-day-old infant were killed in a head-on collision where the individual crossed over the lanes, slammed head-on into them, okay? Killed all three of them, as is so often the case. The person behind the wheel survives. Now, there's no indication yet whether or not he was under the influence. We don't know yet, but he is charged right now with 3 counts of vehicular manslaughter, all right? Or vehicular homicide. And he's incarcerated right now in a very small county jail. Now, he suffered some very severe injuries. 2 broken legs, lacerated spleen, broken ribs. He has internal bleeding issues. All of these things. Now, initially, and check me if I'm right on this, he was taken right after the accident to the hospital. At this point, he is still a private citizen, even though he's under arrest, but he's not been checked into the jail yet. He's there at the hospitals, and what I suspect happened is they discovered this guy's got a lot of problems. He doesn't have insurance. So I believe they stabilized him, and this is just me, I don't know this true, and quickly checked him out to the jail. He went back to the jail, and real quickly he deteriorated, and they found out, oh, he has to go back. Now he goes back. He's the ward of the state. This guy doesn't have insurance, but the hospital gets reimbursed by the state now. Right. Someone was going to pay one way or the other. But my story was how this guy's medical bills could potentially bankrupt this small county. Right. Davidson County, you have big problems and you have lots of money. This county, if this guy's bills are $500,000 or more, well, I guess they're self-insured. Right. What do you do? And people were outraged, of course. We don't know yet, innocent until proven guilty, but he was responsible in some way for the death of 3 people. And now he's getting all this medical care, and we're paying for it. Now, we have no choice, right? He becomes ward of the state the moment you check him into the jail.
That's right, and there's stories around the country where people are about to have to go through some serious medical surgery that's required, but the counties will go to the courts and say, let's put him out on a furlough, or let's release him for 6 months.
When they get later in life and they're on cancer, get them out of here. Or you've told me plenty of times you guys bring people in. They're all messed up to begin with. Not that they were seeking this, but when they get in, all of a sudden you discover all these problems.
Yeah, they want it all addressed.
And all of a sudden you have to address that.
Yeah, the big conversation.
Where do you draw the line, anyway?
Yeah, there's a lot of conversation around the country going. One of the more controversial things going on is kind of the transgender inmate population. We deal with it here. They're dealing with all over the country.
Yeah, what was the most controversial case? I mean, now it's stunning, and I'm pretty open to caring for inmates, but if an inmate wants surgery to become transgender, I don't see how on earth constitutionally they're guaranteed that right, because I view that as elective surgery. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it's not elective, but it's not life-threatening. Sure, and I have no problem with transgender. You want to do that, that's fine. I don't want to pay for it because you committed a crime and you're behind bars. What's the ruling on that right now?
Yeah, there's some courts in the Northeast, obviously, that have ruled that, and again, don't hold me to the specifics, but the issue is it depends on what stage you're in, where if you don't continue the process,
or something.
and so all that kind of gets in the way.
But I can see how the public's furious if someone's in there who hasn't started the process and all, and by the way, says, I'm transgender, I want you to pay for the sex change operation. Right. I mean, under any circumstance, I can't see how that's a rational thing you'd say yes to, just as you wouldn't pay for cosmetic surgery for anyone.
Well, and I think you said it. I mean, it's around the country, the medical costs for housing inmates it's out of the roof, as you can imagine. Yeah. I mean, for everybody. And so when someone selects or there's a surgery that's, if not selected, it's at least predicted, right? You're going to need, open heart surgery, and you may not need it right this second. But a county is sitting there going, gosh, this person needs it. The medical staff says he needs open heart surgery.
So what do you do? So, Sheriff, where's the line? How do you decide?
Yeah, we leave it in the hands of the medical staff, obviously, to tell us. I mean, for example, is it immediate? We're going to do it without worrying about what we're going to do. But if it's something that's selective or can be elected surgery, then we're working with the medical staff to do that. I don't think it's a really good practice for the county to be into manipulating it to get the person off the books in time to get the surgery. I don't think that's a really good practice. We have at times when a person especially is on the last stages of life, we have gone to the county, the court system, and asked the judge to expire the sentence, reduce the sentence, end the sentence so they can be free of the medical cost, but the medical responsibility, and then our responsibility is to supervise them. When you pull all that away and they're in the hospital for weeks or before they die, or they go home, then obviously there's savings to the cost, and I think there's sensitivity to what's going on.
It goes both ways,
it's a very
then, right?
tough
On
issue
something
to
like
deal
that.
with.
Yeah.
But I think, and I know of counties that you're talking about too, where one medical bill it would take over what they have planned for the cost, and even if they're self-insured, sometimes the overriding cost, the security cost of doing this is outrageous.
Yeah.
I mean,
they had to transport him by, I guess, county ambulance maybe because of his condition. The security and then the cost of taking him by ambulance. And anyway, I was just curious. It's not anything that is a scandal or wrong. It's just people I don't think really realize, you have an inmate with some serious physical injuries as a result of something like this, and you're paying for it. And some of these counties don't have the tax base to... Yeah,
the general public would have no idea, and probably wouldn't have a reason to think about what type of inmate you deal with. I mean, we have quadriplegic inmates that come through that are injured. We have folks who are shot up 6 or 7 times and are barely hanging on to life, but they're charged with a crime. Before they were shot 6 times, they shot at somebody. So the point is, there's a lot of serious medical problems when a person comes to jail that has all these conditions, car wrecks, or has been shot up, or there's nothing worse than a stabbing victim. A lot of those costs and the time and the way that hurt, the cost that it takes to remedy it. So there's just a lot that goes into it. People don't think about it really. When you see the TV and the person's arrested, you'll hear of a person who was seriously injured in a case, but the truth is what it costs to really get through all of that and what you're doing to do it, especially in a very high-profile situation. I was with, several months ago, I was with the medical director from the state of Texas, and she and I were sitting somewhere, and she was texting me, or she had a message, and she was having to hop on a plane and leave where we were, and she was telling me that it was in Texas, and that there was a person who was to be executed on Monday of next week, and this is like a Wednesday. And so she was having to fly home immediately because the person had attempted suicide and had cut up their arms really bad. And she was flying home to oversee suturing all this up and getting them prepared
to be executed. Isn't that interesting? And I understand, but you're so right. How bizarre is that? Keeping them healthy out, and then to kill them.
It's just
interesting and a conversation. Gosh, that's odd. All right, let's take a call from Mark. Mark, good morning. Hi, Mark.
Hey, how you doing?
Good, Mark. What's on your mind, buddy?
I just want to ask, they doing any hiring? Because I'm looking for a job. I got 10 years of security experience and 6 years in the military. Got out with honor with discharge. I just wonder if they doing any hiring.
Yes, sir, Mark. You need to go online to Nashville.gov and track us down. The sheriff's office is one of the departments of the offices in there, and we do most everything we have online now. We're always hiring. We do I guess 3 classes a year of correctional officers. We're always hiring.
Turnover, or are you growing? What's happening?
Yeah, we have the lowest turnover rate in the country.
Right. So how do you have so many openings?
Yeah, we here's a good example. We took over the warrant division from the police department in July. So there's 12 positions that we took over, and you're filling those with people, and so we promote from within every job we have. So whether it's retirements or transfers or some people that do leave, 3 or 4 times a year we're needing 30 to 40 officers. That's just the sheer numbers that we have. And then we promote and grow from inside our agency. So every job that opens up from a retirement, you take that job, I take yours, and we're filling at the bottom. So we're always moving people, and I think and Mark needs to look us up. We're looking for, it's tough to find people who understand this line of work. We never close.
So experience is nice.
Right, and he's got a military. We've been very successful with the military background and security experience and honorable discharge. He's what we're looking for.
Just coming in, I guess maybe it varies depending on the position and the experience, but what does an incoming deputy make typically?
30,
first year?
33, 32,
33, and this could be some youngster just out of college, military, high school, depending on what they have. They go through the proper training. What kind of training do they have to do?
6 weeks of training. The law requires 1. We provide 6. You never work freely until you finish the 6 weeks. You graduate, and then you go into, there's all sorts of benefits that we do that really the rest of the government does not do. We will pay for your 75% of your education. You can go to college anywhere you want. Here, we'll pay your tuition, 75% of it, while you're working here. And then built into that, of course, you could have some overtime. You can have some opportunities from within. But I tell people all the time, if you're in the job that we hired you in 1 year from the day that we brought you here, and you're dissatisfied, call me. I've been doing this for 14 years as a sheriff. If you were hired today and a year later you're in the same job you were in 1 year later and you're dissatisfied, call me. I've never had a phone call in 14 years. And
meaning if they wanted to say, look, I had hoped there was more room for growth, or this is what I'm doing, you look at why. Maybe some people deserve it. Maybe, well, you know what, you're still here because you haven't really shown us you can handle it.
And I've never had a person call.
Never call.
Right, ever.
So you do try, I mean, there's opportunity for advancement, which is one thing anyone looks for in any job.
We move people. We want them to move. They have say-so in their shifts and their facilities they work in. We used to have 2 different sets of hours to work. We're probably the more democratic as far as selection and voting and polling our employees on what they want of any place in the country. And sometimes it gets difficult, but we try to let them have say-so in where they work and how they work.
I think that's great. Listen, we'll take a break on that note. We'll come back. Our final segment with Sheriff. You want to join in the conversation? 737-7587. Back with more right after this.